All right, hi, I'm Brian.
I'm John.
Zach.
We're the Where Are You team. We're going to talk about something a little bit different. Most of the talks are about technology, something we use. We're going to talk about how to make your apps and your websites and stuff not look like crap, okay? Because that's sort of a problem that can happen because we're all programmers for the most part. We're not really that great at design. I know I'm not the best designer, but I mean I can make things that don't look terrible because I follow a few sort of guidelines. First off, I'm going to start with some things you should be doing. First, something we've done and something we think you all should do is decide on a primary color. Like if you notice on the last slide, and at the top of this one, we've got that red. That's our primary color for our app, and we really like that color, so we decided to stick with it. We use it for pretty much everything. Also, cater to the platform you're working on, because you don't want your apps to look exactly the same, because that sort of defeats the purpose of working on a different platform. And finally, we want you to utilize the tools that are given to you and not make everything from scratch.
Yeah, and just some general don'ts. We're going to go into detail of these later. You don't want to leave design to the last minute. You should, when you figure out what you're doing, you should lay out some general UI stuff. There are plenty of websites where you can prototype things. If you know what you're doing with UI, it can help guide how you're going to build things and make your overall project better. You don't want your apps to look exactly the same on both platforms because they end up not the users from one won't know how to use it because it's designed for the other one, or vice versa. You don't want to go against the rule books for your own operating system. Both Apple and Google have their respective style guides, and you want to follow those because sometimes if you're really bad with it, they can reject it from the app stores, and you just don't want to go crazy.
Also, real quick, really, what the heck? What the heck's with the catalog? That's the website. That's on my Android phone. Why?
Yeah, so what we were saying at our last point there is just don't go rogue, all right? Don't make things from scratch. Both platforms have available libraries and different UI elements and things built into the systems. So you should use those. Don't try to hard code your own graphics stuff from scratch when it comes to UI stuff. All those libraries that have been created are there for a reason, and you should use them.
All right, so going back to what I said before, you should decide on a primary color. So try to figure out something that looks nice. Like we figured out this color, this red, is our favorite, at least for what we're doing. We've got nice little hex value there. It's nice and easy to remember. It helps your users identify your apps. If you think about it, pretty much every big app you're able to recognize sort of based on the color. Like Facebook, they've got that very specific blue that they've got at the top bar. If you're on Android, I don't remember if they've got iOS, but the bottom bar, and the tabs will highlight with that color. They try to put that wherever is applicable. So on iOS, it's called the global tint, and on Android, the lollipop update, it's now just called the primary color, which is nice and easy to remember.
So here's an example. Like I said, Facebook's got that nice blue. This is Hangouts, and on iOS, it's the tint will it's more like a subdued highlighting color. But you can see in the podcast app on the right, it's a nice purple, and on the calendar app, it's red.
All right, so like we were talking about earlier, you've got to cater to the platform. A lot of people try to make one UI design and then just use that all the way through. But if you're making cross-platform apps, different users are going to expect different UI experiences, and so you should follow those. You don't want to make an iOS app look exactly the same on Android as it would on iOS because Android users expect them to look like Android apps, and iOS users expect them to look like iOS apps. So, you got to think of separate designs that can cater to the different systems. And you should use any stock apps like John's talking about the calendar stuff, any things that come already installed on the phone. Use those as a guide. Those are good for styling.
Also, some things we went through sort of a little bit describe about catering to your platform. As I said before, don't make your apps look exactly the same on both platforms because you want them to feel natural to your users. I know that if I'm using an Android app and all of a sudden it's oh hey, I'm gonna have the add button be in this place, top right, you know, it's not really what I expect. At this point, I've gotten used to the floating action button, which is that circular button down at the bottom right. I've gotten used to that being sort of the ad, so that's what feels natural to me. And iOS people like, I don't know, what
So the
yeah, I'm not saying that, but any other examples?
I mean, generally, just like you don't want people to be confused, like, oh, why does the sun look like the Android version? You want it to be natural.
Right. So also, don't abandon your platform style guides. Android or Google and Apple have both written style guides for you to follow. They've got some nice examples up there. So whenever possible, follow those. Because if you don't, generally your apps will end up looking worse. And if you make your text unreadable, like that should be fairly obvious, but try to make it as like easy as possible. Otherwise, nobody's going to use your app. So if you deviate from these standards, your users are going to have to learn a new way of doing everything, and most people won't have the patience for that, so they'll just use something else.
So for instance, your Gap, you can see on the right, that's iOS, on the left is Android. They both have all the same functionality, but for instance, on iOS, you can filter between the hot and the new pages on the top, but on Android at the bottom. Just, this is like a really good example for it. It just shows that, oh hey, they both have the same functionality, but they cater to the platform.
Yeah, and like we said over and over again, make sure you guys are utilizing the tools that they're given to you. Android has like predefined themes and stuff that you can use. iOS storyboard is pretty nice. They have a lot of stuff already built into it. You just drag and drop things and link them together, and all the UI stuff just comes together very nice. And yeah, don't do this.
Yeah, no, please no.
These are some pretty bad examples of apps that just look terrible, no matter what platform you're on.
And if you're on, if anybody knows what the timekeep is, that's not a very nice website.
Really, just don't do that.
This is how you can read most of the text. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do weird colors like that, and dancing babies would be not.
All right, so thank you.